I'm Drusilla, 22 years old, and I thought graduation day would be the moment my family finally saw me. 4 years of working 3 jobs, maintaining a 3.9 GPA, graduating summa cum laude, landing an internship at the New York Times. I thought this time they'd be proud. I thought they'd show up. But what I discovered that night, standing in the shadows of their celebration, didn't just break my heart. It set me free in ways I never imagined. Before I tell you what happened, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe, because what happened that day didn't just break my heart, it set me free in ways I never imagined. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, in a family where success was measured in prestige and income. My mother, Patricia, spent her days organizing charity galas and reminding everyone that her children attended the best schools. My father, Leonard, was a retired investment banker who believed anything outside finance or medicine was a waste of time. My older brother, Harrison, 28, graduated from MIT and worked for a major tech company in Silicon Valley. Everyone called him a genius. My sister, Lydia, 25, went to Yale Law and joined one of Dallas's most prestigious firms. She was the golden daughter, poised and perfect in every way. Then there was me, the youngest, the disappointment, the one who chose journalism over law school art, over science, passion over prestige. From the moment I declared my major in journalism and media studies at the University of Texas in Austin, I became the family embarrassment. Why can't you be more like Harrison, my mother would ask during rare phone calls. Lydia never gave us this kind of trouble, my father would mutter, when I mentioned wanting to pursue investigative journalism. They made it clear that my dreams didn't matter, that my path was somehow less valuable than the ones my siblings had chosen. I moved to Austin for college and rarely went home. Every visit ended the same way, sitting at the dinner table while Harrison talked about his latest project, while Lydia discussed her cases while I sat silent because nobody asked about my life. When I did try to share, the conversation would shift immediately. "Oh, that's nice, dear," my mother would say, then turn to Lydia. "Now tell me more about that case you mentioned." I learned to keep my achievements to myself. The journalism award I won sophomore year. The investigative piece I published that got picked up by regional news outlets. The recommendation letter from a Pulitzer Prize-winning professor. None of it mattered to them, so I stopped trying to impress them. I focused on building a life in Austin, working as a barista at 6 in the morning, tutoring students in the afternoon, and freelancing for local publications at night. I paid for everything myself: tuition, rent, food, books. I didn't ask them for a penny because I knew it would come with judgment and conditions. I was exhausted all the time, surviving on coffee and 3 hours of sleep, but I was making it work. My GPA stayed high. My portfolio grew. And in my senior year, something incredible happened. I applied for a competitive internship program at the New York Times and got accepted. Out of 3,000 applicants, they chose me. When I called home to share the news, my mother's response was lukewarm at best. "That's an internship, not a real job, honey. What are your actual career plans?" My father grunted something about New York being too expensive. "Harrison said internships are just coffee runs, you know that, right?" Only Lydia offered a vague congratulations before changing the subject. I hung up feeling hollow, but I told myself it didn't matter. I was going to New York. I was going to work for one of the most respected newspapers in the world. Their approval wasn't necessary. April arrived warm and bright. Graduation was scheduled for May 15th. I called my family to give them the details, expecting the usual indifference, but hoping for something more. My mother answered on the third ring. "Hi, honey, what's up?" I took a deep breath. "Mom, graduation is May 15th. I wanted to make sure you knew. I'm sending you all the information." There was a pause. "Of course we'll be there, honey. This is important." My heart lifted. "Really?" "Of course," she said, and I could hear her smiling through the phone. We wouldn't miss it for the world. I called my father next. He was at his golf club, and I could hear men laughing in the background. "Dad, I just wanted to confirm you'll be at my graduation on May 15th. He cleared his throat. "Yes, Drusilla, your mother told me. We'll be there." Then Harrison. "I'm flying in from California," he said. "Already booked my ticket." And Lydia. "I'll be there, little sister. Promise." For the first time in 4 years, I felt like maybe they actually cared. Maybe this would be the moment everything changed. The weeks leading up to graduation were a blur of final exams and packing. I bought a navy blue dress for the ceremony, something elegant but not too flashy. I made reservations at my favorite Italian restaurant in Austin for a celebration dinner afterward, a table for 6 because Lydia mentioned bringing her boyfriend. I sent everyone detailed information about parking, the ceremony schedule, and my seat location. I wanted everything to be perfect. This was my moment. 4 years of sacrifice and hard work culminating in a degree I'd earned entirely on my own. And finally, my family would be there to witness it. 3 weeks before graduation, I texted everyone a reminder. Got all the details for May 15th. My mother replied immediately. Yes, sweetie, we remember. Lydia sent back a thumbs up emoji. Already booked my flight, she wrote. Harrison responded with, can't wait to see you walk across that stage. My father didn't reply, but that was normal. He rarely texted. I assumed my mother had told him. Everything seemed set. I let myself believe that this time would be different, that they would show up, that I mattered enough. 1 week before graduation, I sent another message, just confirming everyone is still coming. This is really important to me. My mother's response came an hour later. Of course, honey, stop worrying. We'll all be there. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. So I did. May 14th arrived with clear skies and temperatures in the mid-80s. I woke up early, too excited to sleep. Tomorrow was the day. Tomorrow my family would finally see what I'd accomplished. I checked my phone, expecting maybe a text from my mother about their travel plans. Nothing. I sent a message to the family group chat. What time are you all arriving tomorrow? I can meet you for breakfast before the ceremony. I waited for responses, watching the 3 little dots appear and disappear, but no one answered. By noon, I still hadn't heard from anyone. I called my mother. The phone rang 4 times before going to voicemail. Hi, this is Patricia. Leave a message. I tried to keep my voice calm. Hey, Mom, just checking in about tomorrow. Call me back when you can. I hung up and tried my father. Voicemail, then Lydia. Voicemail, then Harrison. Voicemail. 4 phone calls, 4 voicemails. The anxiety in my chest started to build, but I pushed it down. They're probably just busy packing, I told myself. Getting ready for the drive. Everything is fine. The afternoon disappeared as I attended the graduation rehearsal with my class. We practiced walking across the stage, receiving our diplomas, moving our tassels. The auditorium was massive with seating for thousands. I looked up at the empty seats and imagined my family sitting there watching me. My mother waving. My father looking proud for once. Harrison and Lydia cheering. The image made me smile, even as a small voice in my head whispered, "What if they don't come?" I silenced it. They promised. They'll be here. By 7 that evening, I still hadn't heard from anyone. I called my mother again, and this time she answered. Her voice sounded rushed, distracted. Hi, honey, can't talk right now. See you tomorrow. Before I could say anything, she hung up. I stared at my phone, confused. Something about her tone felt off. There was noise in the background music and voices like she was at a party. But that didn't make sense. She should be at home packing for the trip to Austin. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe she was just stressed about the drive. I tried to calm myself down. Tomorrow would be fine. Everything would be fine. At 9 o'clock, I was scrolling through Instagram trying to distract myself from the anxiety when I saw it. A new story from Lydia. I tapped on it without thinking, and my breath caught in my throat. The image showed a table at an upscale restaurant, elegant place settings, and wine glasses gleaming under soft lighting. The caption read, "Family dinner at the French room, best night ever." I enlarged the photo. There was Lydia dressed in a cocktail dress, smiling. Next to her was my mother wearing pearls and a burgundy dress I'd seen her wear to galas. My father sat across from them in a suit. Harrison was there too, grinning at the camera. And next to Lydia was her boyfriend, whose name I could never remember. They were in Dallas, all of them, having dinner at one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, the French room where reservations had to be made months in advance. They weren't packing. They weren't preparing to drive to Austin. They were having a party. Without me. On the night before my graduation. My hands started shaking. I called Lydia immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried my mother. Voicemail. I texted the group chat. I saw your Instagram. Aren't you supposed to be on your way here? No response. I sat on my bed in my tiny apartment staring at the photo trying to understand. Maybe they would drive tonight. Maybe they would leave after dinner and arrive early tomorrow morning. It was only a 3-hour drive. They could still make it. They had to make it. At 10 o'clock, I saw another post, this time from Harrison. The image showed him and the family on a rooftop bar, the Dallas skyline glittering behind them. The caption, "Rooftop bar, vibes with the fam." My stomach dropped. They weren't leaving. They had no intention of leaving. They were out celebrating, drinking, enjoying themselves. And tomorrow was my graduation, the most important day of my college career, the day they had all promised to attend, the day they said they wouldn't miss for the world. I called my mother again. This time she didn't answer. I called 3 more times. Nothing. I sent a text. "Please call me. I need to know what's happening. Are you coming tomorrow?" The message showed as delivered but not read. I threw my phone on the bed and put my face in my hands. Don't cry, I told myself. There has to be an explanation. Maybe it's a surprise. Maybe they're already here and pretending they're in Dallas. Maybe this is all part of some elaborate plan. But deep down, I knew the truth. They weren't coming. They had never planned to come. And they didn't even have the decency to tell me. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, checking my phone every 5 minutes, hoping for a message, a call, an explanation. Nothing came. By 6 in the morning, exhaustion and dread had settled into my bones. I got up, showered, and began getting ready. My eyes were swollen from crying, but I covered them with makeup as best I could. I put on the navy dress I'd bought specifically for this day. I looked at myself in the mirror and tried to summon confidence, but all I felt was emptiness. Today should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, it was already the worst. At 7 in the morning on May 15th, I called my mother one more time. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice heavy with sleep. "Drusilla." "It's so early. What's wrong?" The casualness in her tone made my blood run cold. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking, "the graduation is at 11. Are you on your way?" There was a long silence. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Then she sighed, and I knew. "Oh, honey," she said slowly. "About that. We can't make it." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What do you mean you can't make it?" My voice cracked. "You promised. You all promised." She sighed again, irritated now. "Something came up, Drusilla. Harrison got a last-minute award from his company. They're having a ceremony tonight in Dallas, a big corporate event. We can't miss that." My chest tightened. "But you knew about my graduation for months," I said. "You all promised you'd be here." She made a dismissive sound. "Don't be selfish, Drusilla. Harrison's award is a big deal. It's a corporate honor, real recognition. Your graduation is just graduation. Everyone graduates college. Not everyone gets this kind of professional achievement." I couldn't speak. The phone felt heavy in my hand. "But Mom," I managed to whisper, "this is important to me." "I know, honey," she said, her tone softening slightly but still fundamentally dismissive. "And we'll celebrate when you come visit next time. But Harrison's event is more important. You understand, don't you?" No, I wanted to scream, "No, I don't understand." But I couldn't get the words out. "I need to go now," my mother continued. "We have a busy day preparing for tonight. Congratulations on graduating. We're very proud." Then she hung up. Just like that. Congratulations and goodbye. Like my 4 years of sacrifice meant nothing. I sat on the edge of my bed, still holding the phone, tears streaming down my face. My roommate Jade knocked on the door and poked her head in. "You ready? The ceremony starts in 3 hours." Then she saw my face. "Oh no. What happened?" "They're not coming," I whispered. "My family isn't coming." Jade's expression went from confusion to fury in seconds. "What?" "After they promised." After everything, I just nodded, unable to speak. She sat down next to me and pulled me into a hug. "I'm so sorry," she said quietly. "They don't deserve you." Jade helped me fix my makeup again, covering the red eyes and tear-stained cheeks. She helped me put on the burnt orange graduation gown, the traditional color of the University of Texas. She adjusted my cap and told me I looked beautiful. "You earned this degree," she said firmly. "You worked harder than anyone I know. Don't let them take this moment from you." I tried to smile, tried to feel pride, but all I felt was hollow. We drove to the auditorium together, Jade and two other close friends who'd promised to cheer for me. But they weren't family. It wasn't the same. The auditorium was packed with thousands of people. Families filled the stands holding signs and balloons, cameras ready. I sat with my graduating class in the sea of burnt orange gowns, surrounded by excited chatter. People around me were pointing out their families, waving at parents and siblings. I looked up at the stands and saw Jade and my friends in a small section far in the back. 3 people in a stadium of thousands. No parents, no siblings, no one who shared my blood. The ceremony began with speeches from the dean and a distinguished alumnus. I barely heard the words. I was too focused on not crying, on holding myself together. When they started calling names, my heart began to race. One by one, students walked across the stage to thunderous applause from their families. I watched them accept their diplomas, saw the joy on their faces as they looked up at their cheering sections. Then I heard my name. Drusilla May Hartwell, Bachelor of Arts in Journalism, summa cum laude. I stood and walked to the stage on shaking legs. The dean shook my hand and handed me the diploma. "Congratulations," she said warmly. "You should be very proud." I looked out at the audience as camera flashes went off. Somewhere in the back, Jade and my friends were cheering, but I couldn't hear them over the general noise. I couldn't see them in the massive crowd. For a moment, I stood there holding my diploma, searching the faces for anyone who looked like family, knowing I wouldn't find them. Then I walked off the stage, clutching the piece of paper that represented 4 years of my life, feeling more alone than I ever had. After the ceremony, families gathered outside for photos. Everywhere I looked, graduates were surrounded by parents, grandparents, siblings, all hugging and congratulating. Jade found me standing by myself near a tree. She took a few photos of me in my cap and gown, smiling, even though my eyes were dead. One of my professors stopped to congratulate me and ask where my family was. "They couldn't make it," I said, forcing a smile. She gave me a sympathetic look that made me want to disappear. "I'm sorry," she said. "You deserve to have them here." I know I wanted to say. I know I did. By 3 in the afternoon, I was back at my apartment, having changed out of my graduation gown and into regular clothes. I sat on my bed staring at my phone. Still no messages from my family, no calls, no text saying congratulations or sorry we missed it. Nothing. It was like the day didn't exist for them, like I didn't exist for them. I canceled the dinner reservation I'd made weeks ago, the table for 6 that would never be filled. Then I lay down and stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight of rejection pressing down on my chest. At 7 in the evening, I made a decision. I couldn't just sit here drowning in self-pity. I needed to know. I needed to hear them say it to my face. Needed to understand why they thought Harrison's corporate award was more important than my graduation. I needed closure, even if it destroyed me. I got in my car and started driving north toward Dallas. The 200-mile journey stretched ahead of me, and I drove in silence. No music, just the sound of the highway and my own thoughts. It took 3 hours. By the time I reached my parents' neighborhood in Highland Park, it was after 10 o'clock. As I turned onto their street, I saw cars lining both sides. Lots of cars. I slowed down, confused. Then I saw the house. Every light was on. Music drifted through the windows. Shadows of people moving inside. They were having a party. A big party. For Harrison. While I spent my graduation day alone, I parked down the street and sat there for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel. Then I got out and walked toward the house. No one stopped me as I climbed the front steps. I could see a banner hanging in the entryway through the open door. "Congratulations, Harrison." I stepped inside. The house was full of people, at least 50 guests milling around with champagne glasses and plates of expensive catered food. The living room had been transformed, decorated with balloons and streamers in blue and silver. A table near the window displayed Harrison's award, a crystal trophy on a pedestal with a spotlight. People gathered around it, admiring it, congratulating my brother, who stood nearby in a designer suit. He looked happy, soaking up the attention. My mother was across the room in a floor-length gown, laughing with guests. My father held court near the fireplace, telling stories. Lydia circulated through the crowd in her cocktail dress, playing the perfect daughter. I stood in the doorway, invisible. No one noticed me. The music was loud, something classical and elegant. Waiters moved through the crowd with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. This wasn't a last-minute thing. This kind of party took weeks to plan. They had known. They had known all along they weren't coming to my graduation. They had planned this party, sent invitations, hired caterers, all while lying to my face, while promising they'd be there for me, while letting me believe I mattered. I moved through the crowd, slowly, keeping to the edges. I caught sight of Mrs. Patterson, one of my mother's closest friends. She was talking to another woman near the refreshment table. I heard her ask Patricia, "Where's your youngest, Drusilla, right?" My mother turned, wine glass in hand, and smiled. "Oh, she had her college graduation today." But this was more important. She said it so casually, so matter-of-factly, like it was obvious that Harrison's corporate award superseded her daughter's graduation. The other woman looked shocked. "You missed your daughter's graduation." My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Well, everyone graduates college. It's not exactly rare. Not everyone wins the Executive Excellence Award at 30. We had to prioritize." I felt sick. I moved away before they could see me, slipping down the hallway toward the kitchen. I could hear voices inside, familiar voices. I stopped outside this door, hidden in the shadows, and listened. Harrison was talking, his voice loud and confident. "Yeah, my parents have always known what matters. They prioritize success, not participation trophies." Someone laughed. "But your sister graduated today, right? Didn't that conflict with this?" Harrison's response made my blood run cold. "Oh yeah, Drusilla, she's fine. Graduation is just a formality anyway. She'll get over it. She always does." More laughter from the group. I leaned against the wall, trying to breathe. I heard my mother's voice next, clearer now, as she entered the kitchen. Lydia was with her. "Do you think Drusilla is upset?" Lydia asked. "Probably," my mother replied. "But she'll understand eventually. Harrison's career is taking off. Her little journalism degree isn't exactly groundbreaking. She chose that major against all our advice. If she'd gone to law school or medical school like we suggested, maybe we'd care more about her graduation." Both of them laughed. I closed my eyes, each word cutting deeper. My father's voice joined them. "Is Drusilla upset about us missing today?" He sounded mildly curious, nothing more. "She'll get over it," my mother said. "We'll send her some money or something. Take her to dinner next time she visits. That'll smooth things over." My father grunted. "Good. I didn't want to drive all the way to Austin anyway. Too far. And for what? To watch her walk across a stage for 2 seconds?" "Exactly," my mother agreed. "Harrison's event was worth our time. Hers wasn't." She paused. "Besides, we'll have other opportunities." This was once in a lifetime for Harrison. Harrison entered the kitchen then. "Are we talking about Drusilla?" "Yeah," Lydia said. "Mom was just saying she'll probably be upset, but she'll get over it." Harrison laughed. "Of course she will. She always does. Remember her high school graduation? We left early for my college orientation weekend. She cried for a week, but eventually got over it. This is no different." They all laughed like it was a fond memory, like my pain was entertainment. My mother smiled. "That girl is too sensitive. Everything is a drama with her. She needs to toughen up and stop expecting us to celebrate every little thing." My father raised his glass. "When is she supposed to move back to Dallas?" My mother shrugged. "I don't know. She mentioned something about New York. Some internship." Harrison snorted. "New York. With what money, her journalism degree won't pay for New York rent. She'll fail and come crawling back home within 6 months. Then we'll be stuck supporting her." Lydia nodded. "Then we'll have to deal with her while she figures out a real career. Let's hope she learns from this and picks something practical." My mother sighed. "Let's not think about that tonight. Tonight is about celebrating real success, about celebrating Harrison." My father raised his glass higher. "To Harrison, the child who actually made us proud." They clinked glasses and drank. I stood there in the dark hallway frozen. Everything inside me had gone cold and quiet. Years of trying to earn their love, years of working myself to exhaustion, hoping they'd see my worth, years of believing that if I just achieved enough, they'd finally care. All of it had been pointless. They didn't love me. They didn't respect me. They saw me as a burden, as the disappointing child who'd made bad choices, and they felt no guilt about abandoning me on one of the most important days of my life. They were laughing about it, laughing about how I'd get over it, how I always got over it, how I was too sensitive and dramatic. In that moment, standing in the shadows of their celebration, something inside me broke. But it wasn't my spirit. It was the chains that had kept me tied to them, the desperate need for their approval, the hope that they would change, the belief that family meant something. All of it shattered, and what remained was clarity, cold, sharp clarity. They would never love me the way I deserved. They would never see my value. They would never prioritize me, and I was done waiting for them to. I was done being the daughter they were ashamed of. I was done being Drusilla May Hartwell. I turned and walked back through the party, moving through the crowd of strangers, celebrating a brother who thought my pain was funny. No one saw me. No one noticed me arrive or leave. I was invisible to them, just like I'd always been. I got back in my car and sat there for a long moment staring at the house. Then I started the engine and drove away. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just drove. The 200-mile journey back to Austin passed in a blur. But this time I wasn't drowning in hurt. I was planning my escape, planning my disappearance, planning the end of Drusilla and the birth of someone new. I arrived back in Austin at 2 in the morning. Instead of going to sleep, I went straight to my laptop. My mind was racing clear and focused for the first time in hours. I typed into the search bar how to legally change your name in Texas. Pages of results appeared. I clicked on the official state website and read through the requirements: petition for name change, court hearing, publication in a local newspaper, filing fees. The total cost would be around $300. I had that. I'd been saving money from my jobs for months preparing to move to New York for the internship. I could spare $300 to erase my old identity. I read everything twice, taking notes. The process would take about 6 weeks from filing to finalization. I'd need to file a petition with the district court, attend a hearing where a judge would approve the change, then update all my identification documents: social security card, driver's license, passport, bank accounts, everything. I would become a completely different person on paper, and my family would have no way to find me. The thought should have scared me. Instead, it felt like freedom. I spent the rest of the night thinking about names. I didn't want something random. I wanted it to mean something to connect me to the one person in my family who had actually loved me. My grandmother, my mother's mother, had died when I was 12. She was the only one who ever encouraged my writing, who told me to follow my dreams no matter what anyone else said. Her name had been Iris. Her maiden name before she married my grandfather had been Thornton. Iris Thornton. It was perfect, beautiful, strong, completely different from Drusilla Hartwell, a new identity for a new life. By 6 in the morning, I decided. My new name would be Iris Juliet Thornton. Juliet because I'd always loved that name because it sounded like someone artistic and brave, someone who made her own choices, someone who wasn't afraid to love deeply even if it meant risking everything. That's who I wanted to be. Not Drusilla, the unwanted daughter constantly seeking scraps of approval, but Iris, a woman who knew her worth and demanded it from the world. At 8 o'clock, the courthouse opened. I was there waiting, my petition paperwork printed and filled out. The clerk looked over my forms. Reason for name change, she asked. Personal reasons. A fresh start. She nodded without judgment and processed the paperwork. My hearing was scheduled for June 3rd. In less than 3 weeks, Drusilla May Hartwell would cease to exist, and Iris Juliet Thornton would be born. I paid the filing fee and walked out into the bright May morning feeling lighter than I had in years. The next step was planning my complete disappearance. I couldn't just change my name and stay in contact. They would find me eventually. I needed to erase every trace. I started with my phone. I went to a different carrier and bought a new phone with a new number. I transferred exactly 3 contacts to the new phone Jade and 2 other close friends who I trusted completely. Then I sat down with each of them and explained what I was doing. They were shocked at first, but after I told them everything that had happened, they understood. Jade hugged me and said, "If anyone deserves a fresh start, it's you." I'll never tell them anything. I promise. Next came social media. Every platform: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I didn't just deactivate the accounts, I deleted them permanently, erased years of photos and posts and memories. Some of it hurt to lose, but it was necessary. I couldn't leave any digital footprint they could follow. I created new email addresses with my new name completely disconnected from anything related to Drusilla. I spent hours going through every online account I had, from shopping sites to streaming services, either deleting them or changing the associated information. By the end of the day, Drusilla's online presence had vanished. My family started calling on May 17th, 2 days after graduation. My mother called 3 times. I let it go to voicemail each time. "Hi, honey," her message said. "Just wanted to check in. Hope graduation went well. Call me back." Her tone was cheerful, casual, like she hadn't devastated me, like missing my graduation was just a minor scheduling conflict. I deleted the message. My father called once, left no message. Lydia sent a text. "Hey, just checking in. Mom said you're not answering." "Everything okay?" Harrison sent one too. "Stop ignoring Mom. She's worried." The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. On May 18th, my mother called from a different number, probably thinking I was avoiding her usual one. I answered this time, keeping my voice flat and emotionless. "Hello, Drusilla. There you are. We've been trying to reach you. How was graduation?" "It was fine," I said. "Just fine?" She sounded confused by my tone. "Well, tell me all about it. Did you get nice pictures?" "I got pictures," I said. Jade took a few. "Who's Jade?" "My roommate, the one who was actually there." My mother laughed nervously. "Honey, I know you're upset that we couldn't make it, but you need to understand. Harrison's award was such an honor. We had to be there for him." "Of course you did," I said. "He's the important one." She sighed. "Don't be dramatic, Drusilla. You're an adult now. You should understand priorities." "I do understand," I said. "That's exactly the problem. I understand perfectly." She paused, uncertain. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, Mom. I need to go." "Wait," she said quickly. "We need to talk about your plans. When are you moving back home?" "I'm not moving home. I'm going to New York. I told you about the internship." "Oh, that," she said dismissively. "Honey, be realistic. You can't afford New York on an intern's salary. Just move back to Dallas for a year, get a proper job, save some money. Then maybe you can think about New York later." "No," I said simply. "No?" She sounded shocked. "I'm not moving to Dallas. I'm going to New York, and I don't need your approval or your help. I'm doing this on my own, just like I did everything else." "Drusilla, don't be ridiculous. This is exactly what we're talking about. You make impulsive emotional decisions without thinking them through. That internship isn't a real job. Come home where we can help you find something stable." "I'm not coming home," I repeated. "Ever." I could hear her frustration building. "You're being childish. This is about the graduation, isn't it? You're throwing a tantrum because we prioritized your brother's important event over your little ceremony." "My little ceremony," I said softly. "Yes, that's exactly how you see it. Mom, I need to go." "We'll talk about this later when you've calmed down," she said firmly. "No," I said. "We won't." Then I hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called 5 more times that day. I blocked her number. My father called. Blocked. Lydia called and left a voicemail. "Drusilla, I don't know what's going on, but you need to call Mom back. She's really upset. You're being immature about this whole situation. Just apologize and move on." I blocked her too. Harrison sent a text. "Your dramatic silent treatment is childish. Grow up and call Mom." Blocked. Within 24 hours, I had blocked my entire family from my old phone. But soon, even that wouldn't matter, because Drusilla's phone would be gone. Only Iris's would remain. June 3rd arrived. I dressed in black slacks and a white button-up shirt, professional and serious. The courthouse was quiet that morning. I sat in the hallway waiting for my name to be called, my heart pounding with anticipation. Finally, the clerk called out Drusilla Hartwell. I stood and walked into the courtroom. The judge was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes. She reviewed my petition. Reason for name change is listed as personal reasons and a fresh start, she read aloud. Can you elaborate? I took a breath. Your Honor, I need to start a new life. The person I was before is connected to a past that's no longer healthy for me. This name change represents freedom and a future I'm choosing for myself. She nodded slowly. And you understand this is a permanent legal change? Yes, Your Honor. I understand completely. She stamped the papers. Name change approved. You are now legally Iris Juliet Thornton. Good luck with your fresh start. Thank you, I said. And I meant it. I walked out of that courthouse with the court order in my hand and tears of relief streaming down my face. Drusilla was dead. Iris was alive. And I was free. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of paperwork. I went to the Social Security office with my court order and got a new Social Security card with my new name. I went to the DMV and got a new driver's license. The photo showed a woman with determined eyes and the hint of a smile. That woman looked strong. I barely recognized her. And that was perfect. I renewed my passport under the new name. I opened a new bank account and transferred all my money from Drusilla's account before closing it. I updated my name with the university, so my diploma would be reissued correctly. I contacted the New York Times about the name change for my internship, explaining it was a recent legal change for personal reasons. They were understanding and updated their records. Within 2 weeks, every trace of Drusilla May Hartwell had been systematically erased from official records. On June 10th, I sent one final email to my family from Drusilla's old email address. I kept it short. I'm starting a new life. Don't try to contact me. I won't respond. This is goodbye. I hit send and immediately deleted the email account. That was it. The last words Drusilla would ever say to them. Then I started packing. Most of my belongings I donated to charity or sold online. I kept only what fit in 2 large suitcases, closed my laptop, a few books, and one photograph of my grandmother Iris. Everything else was abandoned, just like they had abandoned me. I booked a one-way flight to New York for June 20th. There was no going back, only forward. June 20th dawned bright and hot. I loaded my suitcases into my car and drove to the Austin airport. Jade met me there to say goodbye. She hugged me tight. I'm going to miss you, but I'm so proud of you. Call me when you land. I will, I promised. And Jade, thank you for being there when no one else was. She wiped her eyes. That's what real family does. We hugged one more time, and then I walked into the airport. I checked my bags and went through security. As I sat at the gate waiting to board, I looked at my new driver's license. Iris Juliet Thornton, age 22. It felt like looking at a stranger. A stronger, braver stranger who wasn't afraid to walk away from people who didn't deserve her. When they called my flight, I boarded without hesitation. The plane took off, leaving Texas behind, leaving Drusilla behind, carrying Iris toward a future I would build entirely on my own terms. New York City hit me like a wave the moment I stepped off the plane at JFK. The noise, the crowds, the energy. Everything moved faster here, louder, more intense. I took a taxi to my new apartment in Brooklyn, a tiny studio I'd found online for $1,500 a month. It was the size of a shoebox, but it was mine. The previous tenant had left behind a futon and a small table. I didn't need much. I unpacked my suitcases, hung my clothes in the narrow closet, and sat on the futon looking around at my new life. No family photos on the walls, no connections to Dallas or Austin or the Hartwells. Just Iris Juliet Thornton starting over in the biggest city in America. My internship at the New York Times started July 1st. I spent the days between arrival and start date exploring the city, learning the subway system, finding the nearest grocery store and laundromat. I walked through Central Park and Times Square and Greenwich Village, feeling anonymous and free. Nobody here knew Drusilla. Nobody knew about the family who'd abandoned her, the graduation they'd missed, the pain they'd caused. I was just another young woman trying to make it in New York. That anonymity was a gift. July 1st arrived. I put on professional clothes and took the subway to the New York Times building in Midtown. The newsroom was exactly how I'd imagined: rows of desks, journalists typing frantically, editors shouting across the room, phones ringing constantly. I reported to my supervisor, a senior editor named Margaret, who'd been with the Times for 20 years. "Welcome, Iris," she said, shaking my hand. "We're excited to have you. Let me show you around." She introduced me to the team, showed me my desk, explained the projects I'd be working on. By the end of the day, my head was spinning with information. But I was happy. This was real. This was the career I'd worked for. The first 3 months were grueling. I worked 60-hour weeks, staying late to finish assignments, coming in early to pitch story ideas. I was determined to prove I deserved to be there. I wrote pieces about local politics, profiled small business owners affected by gentrification, investigated corruption in city contracting. Margaret started giving me more challenging assignments. "You're good," she told me one afternoon. "You have instincts. Keep developing them." By September, they offered me a full-time position. Not an intern anymore, a junior staff writer. Real salary, benefits, health insurance. I accepted immediately. At 22 years old, I had a job at one of the most prestigious newspapers in the world, and I'd done it completely on my own. Life in New York was hard, but good. I made friends with other journalists, people who understood the weird hours and the constant deadlines. I joined a book club in my neighborhood where we met every Tuesday night to discuss novels and drink wine. I started taking yoga classes on Sunday mornings, finding peace in the stretching and breathing. Slowly, I built a community. Not a family, but people who cared about me, who saw me, who valued me. People I'd chosen, and who'd chosen me back. 6 months after I arrived in New York, Jade called. She'd stayed in touch, one of the only connections I'd kept from my old life. She told me my family had been looking for me. "Your mom called the university trying to get your contact information," Jade said. "They wouldn't give it to her because of privacy laws. She told them it was an emergency. The university still said no." "Good," I said. Jade continued. "Then your dad hired a private investigator. But there's nothing to find. Drusilla Hartwell doesn't exist anymore. All her social media is gone. Her phone number is disconnected. Her bank account is closed. They can't find any trail." I felt a flutter of anxiety. "What about you? Have they contacted you?" Jade laughed. "Oh, they tried. Your mother called me twice. I told her I hadn't heard from you since graduation." "Technically true. I haven't heard from Drusilla." "Thank you," I said quietly, "for protecting me." "Always," she replied. According to Jade, my family was furious about my disappearance. "How could she do this to us?" my mother had apparently said. "We're her family. She has no right to cut us off like this." The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd cut me off emotionally for years, but when I did it legally and physically, suddenly I was the villain. Harrison called it selfish and dramatic. Lydia said I'd come back eventually when I needed money or got into trouble. My father just seemed confused about why I'd go to such lengths. They didn't understand. They would never understand. And that was okay. I didn't need them to. 1 year after graduation, I got a promotion. Mid-level writer. My salary increased significantly. I moved to a better apartment, a one-bedroom in Manhattan with actual windows and a kitchen bigger than a closet. I was making it. Not just surviving, but thriving. I started dating a photographer named August, who I met at a gallery opening. He was kind and funny and treated me like I mattered. When he asked about my family, I told him the truth. "I don't have contact with them." He didn't press for details. "Your past doesn't define you," he said simply. "Who you are now does." I appreciated that more than he knew. 2 years after graduation, I published a series of investigative articles about income inequality in New York City. The series was powerful, well-researched, emotional. It won a regional journalism award. My name, Iris Juliet Thornton, was in newspapers and journalism publications. At the awards ceremony, Margaret hugged me. "I knew you had it in you," she said. "You're going places." I looked at the award in my hands, the recognition I'd earned through my work, and I thought about my family, about Harrison's corporate award that had been more important than my graduation. This award felt more valuable because I'd earned it as myself as Iris, without their shadow over me. 3 years after graduation, I saw someone on a Manhattan street who looked like Harrison. My heart stopped. The man had the same build, the same hair color. He was walking toward me, and for a moment I wanted to run. Then he got closer and I saw his face clearly. Not Harrison, just a random stranger. I exhaled in relief and kept walking. But the moment had shown me something important. I wasn't afraid anymore. If I did run into them, I would simply walk past. They had no power over me now. I'd built a life they couldn't touch. I was someone they wouldn't even recognize. Jade still updated me occasionally. Your mom hired another private investigator last month, she told me during one phone call. Still nothing I asked. Still nothing. Drusilla Hartwell vanished completely. As far as any database shows, she just graduated and disappeared. They can't find employment records because you're working under a different name. They can't find an address because it's in a different name. They can't find social media because you deleted everything. You're a ghost. Good, I said. That's exactly what I wanted. Jade paused. Your mom apparently told someone at her book club that she made a mistake, that she regrets missing your graduation. I felt nothing hearing that. No satisfaction, no vindication, just emptiness. 3 years too late, I said. It doesn't matter anymore. And it didn't. Her regret couldn't undo what she'd done, couldn't give me back that day I'd spent alone, couldn't heal years of being overlooked and undervalued. Some things couldn't be fixed with apologies that came too late. 4 years after graduation, I was promoted again. Senior writer. I had a team working under me now. I owned a condo I'd saved up for and bought myself. August and I got engaged. We were planning a small wedding in Central Park, just 30 people. Friends from work, my book club, Jade flying in from Texas. August's parents and siblings who'd welcomed me into their family with open arms. No Hartwells. The wedding invitations went out with my name, Iris Juliet Thornton, and I felt only joy. This was my chosen family. These were the people who showed up. 5 years after graduation day, I'm 27 years old. I barely remember what it felt like to be Drusilla. That girl seems like someone from a different lifetime, someone young and desperate for approval that would never come. Iris is stronger. Iris knows her worth. Iris built a life from nothing and made it extraordinary. I stand in my condo looking out at the Manhattan skyline, and I think about how far I've traveled. Not just the distance from Texas to New York, but the internal distance from broken to whole. My wedding day arrived on a perfect September afternoon. Brooklyn Botanical Garden was in full bloom, flowers everywhere. I wore a simple ivory dress and carried a bouquet of irises, a tribute to my grandmother and my new name. Jade stood beside me as my maid of honor, tears in her eyes. You look so happy, she whispered. I am, I said, and I meant it. August waited for me at the altar with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. We exchanged vows we'd written ourselves. I promised to see you, I said to him, to value you, to show up for the moments that matter. Because I knew what it felt like when people didn't, and I would never do that to someone I loved. When the officiant pronounced us married, our 30 guests erupted in cheers. Not one of them was related to me by blood, but every single one of them loved me. That was what family really meant. My career continued to flourish. That year, I published a book based on my investigative journalism work, a deep dive into social justice issues in urban America. The book received critical acclaim. I did interviews and book signings, stood in bookstores watching strangers buy books with my name on the cover. Iris Juliet Thornton in printed letters. Sometimes I wondered if my family ever saw it, if they ever Googled my old name and found nothing, if they ever stumbled across an article by Iris Thornton and never made the connection. But mostly I didn't think about them. They were part of a past that no longer defined me. According to Jade, my family eventually stopped actively searching for Drusilla. The private investigators had found nothing. The trail was completely cold. Patricia started telling friends that Drusilla had moved abroad, was traveling, was finding herself. A convenient lie to explain the missing daughter. Saved face for her charity events and social gatherings. Harrison and Lydia moved on with their lives and careers, occasionally mentioning their missing sister to gain sympathy points. Poor us with the sister who vanished, never examining their role in why I left, never understanding that they'd pushed me away long before I actually disappeared. The truth was, they never really cared about me as a person. They cared about appearances, about having a complete family picture for holiday cards. When I was gone, they were upset because it looked bad, not because they missed me. If they'd actually loved me, they would have shown up on May 15th. They would have been there for the moments that mattered, but they chose Harrison's corporate award over my graduation. They chose their priorities, and I chose mine. I chose myself. And I'd never regretted it for a second. People ask sometimes if I've forgiven my family. The question always surprises me because forgiveness implies they deserve my emotional energy. They don't. I haven't forgiven them because I don't need to. Forgiveness is for when you want to maintain a relationship. I don't. I release them from my life completely, and in doing so, I release the hurt they caused. I don't hate them, I don't think about them enough to hate them. I simply exist in a reality where they don't matter anymore. That's more powerful than forgiveness. It's indifference. It's freedom. The lessons I learned from that graduation day are ones I carry every single day. Family isn't automatically loving just because you share DNA. Real family is the people who choose you, who show up, who value you for who you are, rather than who they want you to be. My chosen family, the friends and colleagues and in-laws who fill my life now, they're more family to me than the Hartwells ever were, because they see me, they celebrate my achievements, they're there for the moments that matter. I learned that your worth isn't determined by other people's recognition. For years, I thought if I just achieved enough, worked hard enough, succeeded enough, my family would finally be proud. But their inability to see my value was never about me. It was about them, their narrow definition of success, their inability to love unconditionally. I am successful, I am talented, I am worthy. Whether they acknowledge it or not doesn't change those facts. The only approval I needed was my own. I learned that starting over is possible, that you can reinvent yourself completely if you're brave enough. Changing my name changed everything. It gave me permission to become someone new, someone not weighed down by the expectations and disappointments of the past. Iris Juliet Thornton is who I was always meant to be. Drusilla was just a girl trying to fit into a family that didn't want her. Iris is a woman who knows exactly where she belongs. I learned that sometimes the worst pain comes from the people closest to you. Betrayal from strangers is easy to dismiss, but when your parents, your siblings, the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally, when they're the ones who hurt you deepest, that pain is profound. It's valid to feel it. It's necessary to acknowledge it. But you don't have to let it destroy you. You can use it as fuel, as motivation, as the catalyst for the biggest change of your life. That's what I did. Most importantly, I learned that leaving toxic people, even family, isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. It's recognizing that you deserve love and respect and support. And if the people you're born to can't provide that, you find people who will. You build your own family from scratch. You create the life you want rather than accepting the one you were given. That takes courage, but it's worth it. Every single day it's worth it. August and I are expecting our first child now, a daughter due in 3 months. We've already chosen her name, Iris Violet. A flower name like mine, like my grandmother's. She'll grow up in a home filled with real love, with parents who show up, with a chosen family of aunts and uncles who celebrate her for exactly who she is. She'll never know the rejection I experienced. She'll never understand what it feels like to stand alone at her graduation. Because I'm breaking that cycle. I'm creating the family I never had. And that feels like the greatest success of all. Sometimes I think about the girl I used to be, 22 years old, standing in that auditorium alone, heartbroken diploma in hand. I wish I could go back and tell her, "You're going to be okay. Better than okay. This moment of pain is going to set you free. You're going to walk away from them and build a life so beautiful, it will take your breath away. You're going to become someone they wouldn't even recognize, someone strong and successful and genuinely happy, someone who knows her worth and doesn't apologize for demanding it. You're going to become Iris. And Iris is going to be everything Drusilla never could be, free." That night I drove away from their celebration, from their laughter, from their casual cruelty, wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. the beginning of the life that actually belonged to me, the life built on my own terms with people who actually love me, in a career I'm passionate about, in a city that feels like home. That night, I stopped being the daughter they were ashamed of and started being the woman I was proud to be. And I'd make that choice again every single time. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is permission to walk away, permission to leave behind people and places that don't serve you, permission to start over completely, to reinvent yourself, to become who you were always meant to be. I gave myself that permission. I became someone new, and in doing so, I finally became myself. Iris Juliet Thornton is happy, successful, surrounded by love. Drusilla May Hartwell never was. Sometimes you have to let the old version of yourself die so the real you can finally live. That's exactly what I did, and it was the best decision I ever made. Have you ever had to walk away from toxic family members? Have you ever felt invisible to the people who were supposed to love you most? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like the black sheep of your family, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about finding yourself, choosing yourself, and building the life you actually deserve. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to put yourself first, even when it means leaving family behind. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives someone out there the courage to know that you are worth more than how others treat you. You deserve to be celebrated, to be seen, to be loved for exactly who you are. And if the people in your life can't do that, find people who will. Build your chosen family. Create your own happiness. It's never too late to start over. Wishing you all the strength to choose the life that sets you free.